And joining me now is the Republican governor of Arizona, Doug Ducey. Governor, thank you so much for joining me. I want to show our viewers a cartoon that Cindy McCain posted online showing the Republican Party. They're punishing the three of you for, quote, a grotesque display of basic integrity. Is that what you're guilty of here, integrity?
Well, thanks for having me, Dana. And I want to say this is an action of very little consequence. The party in Arizona has had a long history of discontent. This is just the latest example. I think that the state party chairman should focus on winning races. That should be a top priority. I believe I was in good company in that cartoon. And I also want to say I worked incredibly hard to deliver the state for Donald Trump and Red up through Election Day. And then after Election Day, of course, once all the ballots were certified in all 15 counties, the vote had been audited and determined accurate. I had very little choice but to do the right thing, follow the law and the Constitution.
And when you did that, when you certified Arizona's election results in November, this happened. Your phone ringing with the ringtone, "Hail to the Chief." You later said that was then President Trump calling. And we heard audio of President Trump asking Georgia officials to find votes in order to overturn election results there. How far did Trump go with you and pushing you to overturn Joe Biden's win there?
Well, first, I want to say that's not what happened in Arizona. And the event, I couldn't see the video, but I know what you're referring to.
Yeah.
That was an official event in a public setting. So regardless of who was calling, I was going to call them back. And that's what I did is I called later that day. And the ironic thing was there could be no legal challenges. And there were rumors of irregularity, and there were accusations of lawsuits and claims. None of those could be brought forward until the vote was certified, so it could begin after that. And of course, I talked with the president, I talked with the vice president, and whatever claims that they had could be brought forward at that time, and that was up to then the judiciary here in Arizona.
Yeah, but as you know, I mean, we saw it in public. President Trump tweeting about you, calling you a rhino, saying that Democrats treated him better than you did. So I can't imagine what you heard in private. Is there something you can share with us, separate and apart from the fact that you had a law that you had to follow and you did so?
Well, I'm going to keep my conversations with the president in confidence. I will say those conversations were cordial. I believe there were people in Arizona and people on the president's legal team that were getting misinformation back to him. Of course, he's going to respond however he chooses to respond. But Dana, I report to the people of Arizona. They are my boss, and I upheld my obligations under the law.
And you mentioned misinformation. The insurrection that happened here in Washington at the Capitol came after President Trump and his allies spread lies about election fraud in a number of states, including your own in Arizona. So what responsibility does Trump bear for what happened on January 6th?
Well, I've said he does bear some responsibility. So do those that organized the rally, the Stop the Steal rally. So do those that financed the rally. So do those that were giving him misinformation. Ultimately, I think his legal team really failed on this front. But ultimately, the people that bear the responsibility are those that committed the violence and vandalism at the People's House. So we have denounced that in all possible terms. They should be held accountable to and prosecuted to the highest extent of the law, those that broke into the Capitol. It should never, ever happen again. I think that's something we can all agree on.
Governor, I want to ask you more broadly about the state of the GOP. The South Carolina Republican Party censured Congressman Tom Rice for voting to impeach former President Trump. The Hawaii GOP recently posted a tweet defending the QAnon conspiracy theories. The Oregon GOP called the Capitol attack a false flag. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has faced no consequences for supporting calls to execute Democratic politicians. She said that in the past. This is a cancer growing rapidly on your party. What happened to the GOP?
Well, first, I want to say I reject those calls to violence or conspiracy, and these will be things for House Leader McCarthy to deal with and ultimately the people to deal with. But our party, the GOP, has a lot of indications of optimism. In our governor's conference, the Republican Governors Association, we have 27 states with Republican governors. We were able to gain 14 seats in the House of Representatives. We have a 50-50 Senate with real pickup opportunities in places like Georgia and New Hampshire. And the president earned 74+ million votes in this last election cycle. So we have work to do. The issues that you talked about are real issues, but there's always a discussion on when a party doesn't win the races that it wanted to win. There's an after-action report, and in my role as leading the RGA, I look forward to engaging in that.
But you know that this isn't just a typical year where one side's ideas beat another side's ideas. This is some serious stuff going on inside your party, with conspiracy theorists winning elections and getting roles on committees that, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Education Committee after she, went after a high school student who was there in Washington to protest after he survived Parkland. I mean, is this something that you, as a leader in the Republican Party, want to condemn? And if so, what's the next step? How do you rid your party of this kind of thing?
Dana, I have condemned what happened at the Capitol, and I've seen the reporting that you're referring to. And if it's accurate, what's happening is absolutely unacceptable, and Leader McCarthy will deal with it. But I don't think it's just on our side. There have been extremes on both sides that have muddied the waters as to what's happening now. Now, everything that happened at the Capitol in terms of the break-in, the violence and vandalism has been denounced and condemned by me and my side. And I think that we need to focus again on where we take the party going forward. But I'm not for this cancel culture. And I'm somebody who embraces both our First and Second Amendment. And I don't think we should limit speech. I think we should have more speech around this, and we have to persuade with better ideas and better policy and gratitude for what we've inherited in terms of a great nation and how do we make it better. The election is now behind us, so it is time to focus on leading and governing. I've tried in the state of Arizona to let politics stand down for a little bit and move our action-oriented agenda here at the state level. And that's what I can do in terms of leadership, tone, and the mode that I'm in as the governor of the state of Arizona.
I want to turn to COVID and the fact that you have administered nearly 500,000 vaccine doses in Arizona so far. You've set up a 24/7 vaccination center at the State Farm Stadium, which is home of the Cardinals. But the CDC ranks your state, Arizona, 41st among all of the states in terms of vaccines administered per capita. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think you should check the most current numbers. And Dana, we're at 629,000 vaccines distributed as I talk to you right now. The latest rankings have us 13th by one measurement, 15th by the other. We do have a 24/7 site that we opened up, thankfully to the Arizona Cardinals and Michael Bidwell in helping us. We're also opening up another 24/7 site at Phoenix Municipal Stadium. What we need right now, Dana, are more vaccines. We're in danger of running out of the vaccines we have. All we can do is distribute what we receive from the federal government and from the private sector. So we're working with the Biden administration to get more vaccines. We've got a lot of people that come to Arizona. It's a beautiful day here. Today it's 68 degrees, and people migrate here from other cold weather states. They need vaccinations as well. We've asked for 300,000 additional vaccines from the Biden administration, and we want to work with them to do everything we can to get those in people's arms. But just so you know, we have the capability to do 12,000 vaccines a day at the Phoenix Municipal site. We can only schedule 500 because of the lack of inventory that we have. So we need more, and we're asking everyone to hustle it up because we want to get that vaccine in people's arms. That's the solution that presents itself, and Arizona wants to do the best job possible in getting it done.
Governor, before I let you go, your term is up in 2022. You told the New York Times you're not going to run for the Senate. Are you definitively ruling it out?
I'm not running for the United States Senate, no.
Governor, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.